Okay, guys, so we are making Travarica today. And first thing we need to do is dilute this rakia down to, I like it around 50%. So we cooked this rakia a while ago. It's probably our best rakia that we made this year. Very full flavored. You always want to use your best quality rakia when you're making travarica. But I'm going to show you two different ways to make it. Part one of this video is going to be just infusing it, and part two is going to be actually distilling it, which is a little bit more complicated, but also yields a really superior product in my opinion, kind of like a gin. So first thing we have to do here is measure what we have, and then we're going to dilute it down to 50%. So this little scale here is called a hydrometer, and this is a proofing hydrometer. I'll show you here in a second. So it will, you drop it into the liquor, and then where it floats, it'll tell you the alcohol level. Not sure this is going to be enough. Nope, it's not. So I'm going to have to do this in the graduated cylinder, but I can't do it in here until I wash this because this has probably got dust in it. So I will be back in just a second. Okay, I'm back. I washed the graduated cylinder. Now I'm just going to run some rakia through here to make sure that all the water is washed away. And now I'm going to measure the existing alcohol content. That is very simply done by dropping in the hydrometer. Give it a little spin. And wow, this stuff is 55% alcohol right now. So I'm not going to add too much water to it. But I will say, see if you can catch that. Probably not. No, it's not going to work. I will say, when you do add water to the rakia, just to bring it down to the correct proof, make sure to use high quality water or drinking water, like I'm doing in this case. Bottled water is fine too. There is a mathematical equation that you can do to actually kind of figure out what exactly, how much volume you have to add to the liquor to get it down to the correct proof. I am not doing that, obviously, but you can find those calculators online. I'm going to save, actually I can't save this. Throw this in here too. And I'm going to reproof it. Now, like I mentioned, I want this to be around just a little bit, right around 50%. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Okay, guys, so we got the rakia cut to 50%. I got a scale here. I'm going to try to scale some of this stuff off. I don't know if I'm going to add enough herbs to be able to measure. But at the end of the day, this is about 4.5 liters. And I want about 4 finished liters. I added a little bit more just because some of this is going to be absorbed by the herbs that we're using. And this is Travarica making number one, right? So this is infusion method, which means we're going to soak the herbs in the rakia and for a short period of time. And short period of time can mean anywhere between 12, 24, up to about 48 hours. I don't like to go very much more than 2 days, especially with some herbs like this is pelinkovats or wormwood, which is Artemisia absinthium. This is some bitter stuff, and you cannot imagine how bitter it's going to make your rakia. If you add too much of this stuff, the only fix is adding sugar to back it off in time. And I'll go over that in a little bit as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each herb I'm going to add here. I'm going to try to measure out approximately how much I'm going to add and why I'm adding it. And then I'll go ahead and add it, and then we'll come back after a couple hours, couple days, whatever it is, and we will go ahead and taste it, and I'll show you what it looks like at that point, and we'll go from there. So here we go. Okay, guys, herb number 1. This was last year's batch. This was this year's batch. This one I grew in my garden. This is from last year's garden. If you properly dry these herbs in a nice, warm, low humidity climate, you can store them in a Ziploc bag once they're completely dried out, and they'll last indefinitely. Probably start losing potency after, 3, maybe 4 years. But I want to show you guys, this is the most important and best flavored herb that you are going to add to your Travarica. So this herb is bee balm. And bee balm is what they use to actually make bergamot, which goes into black tea or Earl Grey. So the leaves of this herb are incredibly flavorful, much more so than the stem and the flower. The flower will actually give a little bit of a pink color to your rakia. I'm not sure if it'll do it while it's dry. I would bet it would. But in general, the leaves, which I have a bag full here from last year, the leaves are really what you want to add. And I'll show you right now, this entire bag is 29 grams, which is way too much. I would pinch off about half of this to put into the rakia, because again, we're only doing 4 liters. So I'm going to try to pull off about 15 grams of herbs and stems, and I'll probably throw in a flower or two, just because I think this is the primary essence, the primary flavor that I want to incorporate into my rakia, into my Travarica. Everything beyond that is going to be more of an accent to this. This, in my opinion, is number 1. Now, listen, Travarica, we all know, very traditional. You can get good Travarica from all parts of Croatia, from the coastline all the way up to Velebit. I don't have access to those herbs. I don't have access to the soil. So what I have here is what I have, and I'm going to make my own version of Travarica from it. It's never going to be the same as something that you drink in the motherland, but it's going to be good, and you're going to enjoy it. So here we go. We're going to get about 15 grams of bee balm into the rakia. Okay, guys, number 2. This is pelin, which is in English wormwood, which is what they use to make absinthe. And this is a bitter. So this herb is extremely bitter. Now, this is hard to find. You could find this stuff chopped up online at different like wine stores and beer stores, but it's absolutely not the same. So what I would say is try to grow this stuff on your own. It's much better, and you'll have a much better quality pelin, and it'll come back every year. The plant itself I found from a nursery in Oregon, because you have to make sure to get Absinthia, Artemisia absinthium. That's the Latin name for this herb. You have to get that. There's plenty of different types of Artemisias. The one that you need to get is Artemisia absinthium. You don't want to put an herb into your Travarica that's going to make you sick. So absinthium was only like $4 for the plant, but the shipping was $30. So the plant cost me $35 to get here. And I planted it in my front yard as a decorative, and it looks fine. It's just kind of a silvery looking plant, and I'm sure it'll be there for a couple of years. Hopefully the winter this year doesn't kill it off, but we shall see. So I'm only putting in 2 sprigs of this stuff, which, let me tell you, weight-wise, come on, buddy. All right, here we go. Grams. That is half a gram of pelling is going in because this stuff is super bitter and I don't want the rakia to be overpowered by it. Okay. Okay, the next herb that I'm going to be putting into the Travarica is yarrow. And yarrow is a really beneficial herb. There's a lot of properties that make this a medicinal herb. It has a really nice flowery, almost chamomile-like smell to the leaf. This is a yellow yarrow. This is a moonshiner. It's called, I can't remember the actual Latin term, but it's moonshiner is the species. This is last year's batch. You could see how the flowers have kind of lost a little bit of that color. This is this year's batch, and I only grew a little bit this year. I'm going to use the fresh herbs in the steeped Travarica. This stuff is going to go into the redistilled Travarica. So that's episode 2, but we'll show you that some other time. Now, let's see how much of this we're going to put down. I would say for a batch this big, we're probably going to want, let's say 1 sprig per liter. And that's just under 5 grams. That's 4.8 grams. That's going in. Okay, here we are. This is the next herb. I want to show you. This is actually the leaf of the yarrow. And it has a completely different, more sagey smell than the flower. So I'm going to add a little bit of this. I don't want to add too much of this because I am going to add sage. So I'm just going to take a pinch off of this. Let's call it about that much. And that's 1.8 grams. So let's call that 2 grams. And that's going to go into the pot. Okay, this is next. This is hyssop. Oh gosh, I have the technical name written down. It'll all be in the description, guys. You can see it's dropping all sorts of black little teeny seeds, but this stuff essentially smells and tastes like licorice. So I'm gonna put a little bit of this. This one's not particularly bitter, but it will lend a very nice aroma. So that's 5 grams. I'm going to go just a pinch more. And I'm going to probably crush this up. So that's about 7.5 grams, give or take. I'll try to carefully fold this. And there she goes. All right. Okay, so what's next? Basil, of all things, right? When basil's dried and it's fresh, it just has this really amazing aroma. I can't remember which variety of basil this is, but essentially you could use any varietal. And I'm just going to use a little bit of basil. This is just a kiss. That's 0.9 grams right there. So not very much, but just a little bit of dried basil. And here we are, of all things you wouldn't believe, but just a pinch of dill. And when I say just a pinch, just a pinch. This isn't even going to probably register on the scale. No. So it's less than a gram. And you got to be careful with dill. It's extremely aromatic, and I just want to put in, you can see here, this is just a little seed cluster for 4 liters. We do not want a lot of dill in here. As much as I like my pickles, I don't like to drink pickle juice. So here's another one that we're just going to go very, very light on. And this is French tarragon. So French tarragon, this is my secret herb for when I make chicken soup. It's really great for soup. This is fresh grown tarragon out of my garden that I've dried. Again, just a little bit. We don't want, it will overpower. And let's see here. That is 0.3 grams. So just one sprig of tarragon is going to go in. Okay, and I think we're getting down to the end here. This is sage. And sage can be super fantastic. It can also quickly overpower it, but this is probably, of all the herbs we're putting in here, this is probably the most medicinal herb. Great for your memory. And let's see, so that's about 3.5 grams of sage we're going to throw in. And one last one I forgot. 1 second. Okay, lavender. How can I forget? So everybody knows what lavender smells like. Oh, lavender is the best. I mean, its smell, its aromatic, is beyond any of the other herbs. But when I say a kiss, I mean a kiss of lavender, because your rakia will easily start to smell like and taste like Bath and Body lotion. And no, thank you. So that's 1.1 grams of lavender. We're going to fold that up and over. And it's going in. Okay, guys, so got all the herbs in here. We are now just going to take a clean stainless steel spoon, submerge everything, make sure it's all under the rakia. Break it up a little bit. I don't want to crush it, but I do want to break it up a little bit to get some of the essence into the rakia. Gonna be good. Okay, and that's it. Now we put the lid back on it and we let this sit 24 to 48 hours. So tomorrow, I don't know where the lid is, I'll find it. But tomorrow I'm gonna come back out here and give it a sniff. And how do you know when it's done? Time and taste, I guess. I don't know, there's really no right way. Typically, like I said, I don't like to let these herbs steep for more than 24 to 48 hours because they will become extremely bitter. Not just the pelinkovats, but some of these other herbs are bitters as well. And you can back sweeten Travarica, but that's not, nobody wants to add sugar to something to make it palatable and drinkable, right? So what you want to do is really just take a little, that's why I put it in one of these containers with a cheater valve. This is great because I can strain it and I can also taste test it as it's coming along. And for right now, this is it. 4 liters. I'm going to let it sit 24 hours. I'll be back tomorrow to give it a sniff and probably either take it out tomorrow or on Sunday for sure. So on to the next step. Okay, guys, so we have now strained off the Travarica out of the big jar, the mixing jar. And what we're trying to do here is just basically filter out the large particles. So what I did is I have a stainless steel funnel. I put a coffee filter in there and I just slowly push the rakia, the Travarica, through and directly into the final bottle. And it's really just to catch those big particles. Now, I did taste this, and it has a really sagey, herby taste on the front, and then almost a honey-like aftertaste. It was actually really, really good. But what I'm going to tell you guys is this stuff needs to sit on the shelf for at least 6 months before you can start enjoying it. And I came back a couple days later, and once the stuff was bottled and I tasted it, and it was rough. And the reason for that is all those herbs need time to blend and meld together. So put it up on the shelf, leave it for next year. You will be rewarded for your patience, and you will really, really enjoy this. You can see how absolutely clear and delicious this stuff looks. Enjoy, guys.